Hello everybody, my name is Average Election Enjoyer. Today on July 16th of 2026, and today I'm going to be looking at the best and worst possible cases for both the Democrats and Republicans for the upcoming midterms in the House of Representatives, the governor's elections, and the Senate. Some basic ground rules here for these best case, worst case. I've seen some best case and worst case scenarios where they are taking it a little too extreme in regards to how elastic things can really be. This is going to be in the case of basically just feasibility, and we're not going to be taking into account any future scandals or anything like that, because that could have a dramatic impact. What happens if Trump nukes some random country, you know what I mean? Like, not sort of things like that. Or what happens if Hakeem Jeffries eats a child live on television? We're not going to be going into, stuff like that. This is just going to be in the realms of what is most likely going to be the upper and lower ranges for each political party here. And first, I am going to be doing, of course, the Republicans. Now, the Republicans' best hope would be to, of course, hold the House. That would be a dream for the Republicans here. They're going to be fighting tailwinds, and they do, in fact, have some things going for them. They got a number of seats, I believe 11 out of the South, out of redistricting. So Republicans have won the redistricting war with the help of the Supreme Court, and they are going to be coming into the midterms with a little bit of padding. They could lose the popular vote by up to 4 points, and they could still take home the House of Representatives here. And that would be, major news for the Republicans. So if the wave is up to 4 points, I would say that it is feasible that Republicans are going to be able to hold the House of Representatives here. And the way that sort of would happen would, of course, we're going to be looking at rates to the White House, where they have 218, of course, to win. Democrats at 210, Republicans at 203. Of course, safe, likely, and lean. And 22 to win. Republicans, of course, they would, even in a +4 year, they would likely lose this seat in Iowa, so they would win here. They would win a couple races, especially in Florida and in Texas. They would hold these two races. North Carolina, they would hold this seat. Potentially this seat. This seat is probably going to. This is a very competitive seat. That could go either way. I would say the Democrats are probably gonna win in Oregon there, but it is possible that they don't. But it would just rely on Republicans winning a lot of these toss-ups here, especially in Texas, one in Iowa, a couple in North Carolina, and in Florida. These would be, if Republicans are going to hold the House, these would be the biggest signs, is if they are able to keep these seats here. And maybe even Wisconsin and Michigan, trying to win some of the swing seats there. Probably Pennsylvania too. Very important swing state. Look at how many toss-up seats they have. They have like 5 toss-up seats. Gonna need to win a couple out of there. This would be how the Republicans would hold on to the House here. For the governors, their best possible outcome, of course, would be winning in Vermont and New Hampshire. Best case is they would eke out a win in Georgia. Keisha Lance Bottom's controversial candidate, not beloved by any means, definitely has a chance of losing. I don't think that they have a chance winning in Michigan, especially after the independent dropped out, who is going to be taking away some Democratic votes. So that is going to be one that Democrats are still going to hold even in this scenario. And Wisconsin is the most blue of the Midwest states, and I don't see Democrats losing this governor's election just in 2026. But of course, that would leave Nevada and Iowa open to the Republicans to win. These would be more races that are going to be Joe Lombardi, strong candidate in Nevada there. And even though Rob Sand is, in my opinion, a strong candidate in Iowa, and that race is definitely a toss-up he's still definitely in this scenario not going to be winning in this Republican best case feasible scenario here. And then for the Senate, of course, you're going to know that in Maine and Ohio and Iowa and Nebraska, Republicans have the highest chance. Um, I would say that Georgia is would have to be a toss up in this scenario. Um, I can't say that even in the best case scenario that Republicans are going to be able to beat John Ossoff, but I'll leave it as a toss up. And Michigan is kind of close, but I just don't think that Michigan is going to come back all around in a bluer year. Michigan's historically bluer away from the presidential ballot. And I think that is going to be carrying over whoever wins the Democratic primary into the Senate seat. So moving on to the Democrats here. Of course, going back to this map, Democrats' best hope. I think that the ceiling is a lot higher for the Democrats. The ceiling for the Democrats would be these lean till R seats even going after. This Montana district, several districts in Colorado here. The third, they're the leaning R district in Iowa. Several districts in Virginia, of course, would be some seats that Democrats are looking after. There are several in Florida that are probably not going to flip. I wouldn't even say that these seats are going to flip, even in the Democrats' best case scenario. Several of these seats in Florida there. Same with this district, though. Democrats would try to make it close in Maine. Even this is a far-reaching one too. I don't believe in this flip as well either. But these are the sort of seats that we're going to be seeing. A couple of these would likely flip in the Democrats' best chance. Of course, this Colorado seat, this Iowa seat would be most likely of the two, maybe one of these two seats in Virginia. These would be the seats that, if the best case scenario for Democrats is playing out, they would be at least extremely close, if not winning, in these seats, and it would lead to Democrats. Maybe about two. I would predict in the best case Democratic situation about 240 to 250 seats won for the Democrats if they want, or if they manage to win up to the best case scenario, which of course I don't think is going to happen, but these are how I see the most feasible best case outcomes for either party. For the governor's elections, I think that there are a number of seats that they could make very close. I think that Alaska would become closer if Mary Patola is able to win by a couple of points. That would certainly help drag Begich up. He's been polling well, but of course, Alaska is a Republican state, cannot say that. I also think that Kansas, of course, would be getting pretty close. I don't think Democrats have a chance still there. Best case scenario, Georgia, Keisha Lance Bottoms gets dragged up. Rob Sand definitely has a fair chance there. Joe Lombardi, strong candidate as he is, it's still Nevada. It's a swing state. Could get very close there. And I would put Ohio as toss up, just because Ramaswamy not the best candidate. That could be, in fact, a closer race. But again, it's just like with the Republican case where I can't say that they had no chance in Georgia, but this is the best case scenario. So I have to say it's better than lean. This is how I would say the best possible scenario for Democrats here, in terms of the governor's race, with them 226, 23, and toss up of Ohio there. And finally, moving on to the Senate. Of course, first to go would be Maine. This is a must win for the Democrats. Georgia is going to have to be definitely gone. Michigan, of course. I think that Ohio and Iowa are going to be voting for their Republican candidates. In a best case scenario, I know this isn't feasible, but if the Democrat drops out of Montana, it could get closer. It's not gonna happen. They're not gonna win Montana, but you could see potentially even if the Democrat doesn't drop out, you could see something close to the Republican not getting a majority of votes, could get like 51, 52 Democrats and independent combined would get in the middle to upper 40s, which would be a good performance there. Nebraska would be doing better. Kansas would be within 50. Kansas would be about 10, 11, 12 points. Pretty decent performance there. Of course, I think in the Democrats' best scenario, they would win Alaska. Um, Mary Patola is doing very well there, very polling very well, very popular candidate, and Alaska is a more libertarian state. Tend to be a little more independent. Might not be a huge fan of some of the recent this administration's recent policies, and the fact that they're independent. More independent thinking may drive more of them away. We've seen revisions in Republican vote in recent polls and especially special elections, and I think Alaska might be a prime place where you might see revision from the Republican Party from Republican-leaning voters. And I think in the very best possible scenario that James Talrico does in fact have a chance in Texas there. That is going to be a very difficult race, but he's raising the money he needs to. He's doing well with the voters that he needs to. Very popular with Hispanics, who are going to be the biggest swinging factor in this race. If he can do really well with Hispanics, then he'll be building a very strong coalition because, in all likelihood, the Black vote is going to be forming around him. He's been probably trying to do outreach with all those groups, as I've been seeing on social media. He has been doing outreach with those groups, and of course, I have also been seeing on social media that Ken Paxton has been doing some interesting campaigning, is a way that I'll put it. I'm not going to speak to his policies, but what I will say is I'm certainly not a fan of his method of campaigning, just in terms of pure objective, just posting AI slop and that sort of thing. Is not really what I think is going to be driving a successful campaign in a state like Texas, where there are voters to be won. And it has been historically close in the past. And with an upcoming 2026 and a very controversial candidate versus a very good candidate, I think that Texas could potentially be a state where Democrats could have a major breakthrough in the very best scenario. Of course, I still think that Texas is probably 70% going to go. It's 70-30 right now in terms of Republicans winning, but that could narrow up and potentially um, could go for the Democrats here. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.